Britain's forgotten killers. Tonight, we will follow the bloody international trail of a globe-trotting fraudster, a man who slaughtered his own family and concealed the evidence beneath his new wife's feet. My name is James, and this is Midnight's Metro Mysteries, where we take a step into the unknown on the last train home. Frederick Bailey Deeming. In September 1891, Frederick Bailey Deeming stood at the head of his lavish wedding banquet, raising a glass to his beautiful new bride. But just down the road, and unknown to all, sealed underneath the kitchen floorboards of his rented home, lay the slaughtered bodies of his first wife and 4 small children. Let us quickly jump back in time. Born in Leicestershire in 1853, Deeming was never a man who played by the rules. By the time he was in his 30s, he was already a career conman with dozens of aliases. He was a bigamist, a fraudster, and a thief. He had swindled his way across South Africa, Uruguay, and half of England, and in 1890, one of his many crimes was about to catch up with him. His first wife, Marie, with whom he shared 4 children, had found out that he had married a second woman behind her back. Though this is not officially confirmed, it is thought that in a fit of rage Marie reported this to the police and Frederick was arrested for bigamy. He was sentenced to 9 months in prison. He served his time in Hull and had spent that time ruminating on an incredibly dark plan. Once released and a free man once again, Deeming went on to rent a property in the sleepy village of Rainhill, just outside Liverpool. He created another new alias, now calling himself Albert Oliver Williams, and claimed to be a wealthy army inspector who made a fortune examining mines overseas. Once settled into his new place, he attempted to make contact to wife Marie and somehow managed to persuade her to bring their children to the house in Rainhill in order to live together and work on their marriage. Marie knew every one of his filthy secrets, his bigamy, his frauds, his prison time, and by the time she arrived in Rainhill with the children, Deeming had fully committed to his horrendous plan. On or around the 26th of July 1891, Deeming struck. Whilst his wife and children were peacefully sleeping in their nightclothes, he slaughtered them all. One by one, he knocked them unconscious with the blunt side of an axe and proceeded to slit every member of his family's throats from ear to ear, including his youngest child, 18-month-old Layla. He would lift up the kitchen floorboards, drag the 5 bodies into a shallow hole and poured a thick, heavy concrete over them like a man laying a new patio. In order to quell any potential suspicions from neighbours, Deeming would go on to complain about defective drains in an attempt to explain any potential horrendous smells. He would also go on to tell people that his family had simply gone on a trip to visit relatives without him. His disgusting plan had been successfully carried out, but his hideous crimes would not stop there. Whilst Marie and the poor children were rotting underneath the kitchen floorboards, Deeming had met and began aggressively courting another woman. Her name was Emily Lydia Mather, a pretty 27-year-old local woman, and on the 22nd of September 1891, barely a month after the murders, he married her. The whole town would celebrate the newlyweds, all whilst 5 corpses lay entombed under the floor of his Rainhill home. In November of that year, and what is thought to be a bid to flee from the scene of his disgusting crime, the newlyweds boarded the German steamship Kaiser Wilhelm II and sailed for a new life in Australia. They arrived in Melbourne and rented a small brick cottage in the suburb of Windsor under yet another false name. Christmas that year would be Emily's last. Around Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, he struck again. He battered Emily over the head, fracturing her skull in several places, then slit her throat. Once more he dragged her body into a shallow grave, this time beneath the fireplace in the second bedroom. He would once again mix up a fresh batch of cement and encased her body under the floor. Then he did what Deeming always did. He ran. He fled across Australia to Western Australia, calling himself Baron Swanston. There he would go on to meet another young woman named Kate Ransfell. He proposed to her within days and she accepted, though Kate's life was to be potentially saved by happenings at his old cottage across the country in Melbourne. In early March 1892, a prospective tenant walked into the now empty Windsor cottage and complained of a vile and sickening smell. Police pulled up the floorboards, along with the stone that the fireplace in the second bedroom sat on, and found Emily's decomposing body. Inside the house, officers would find a damning clue: the invitation to the lavish Rainhill wedding banquet in the name of Albert Oliver Williams. They wired their colleagues in England immediately, and on the 16th of March, officers in Rainhill visited Deeming's former home. They smashed up the kitchen floor and unearthed the concrete tomb containing Marie and the 4 children. The stench, the newspapers said, was indescribable. A massive manhunt swept Western Australia. On the 11th of March, in the remote mining town of Southern Cross, police finally arrested Deeming just days before his new fiancée was due to join him. Back in Melbourne, the trial was a sensation. Deeming's lawyers, one of them a future Prime Minister of Australia, tried desperately to plead insanity. He claimed he saw visions of his dead mother and suffered from syphilis-induced madness, but the jury took less than an hour to convict him.
Guilty!
The press also went wild with another angle. Because Deeming had been in England in 1888, used endless aliases, and had a specific method of cutting throats, many were convinced he was Jack the Ripper himself. Deeming would even hint at this himself in prison, feeding his own legend. Historians later proved he couldn't have been. He was thousands of miles away during the Whitechapel murders, but the rumours only made the case more infamous. On the 23rd of May 1892, Frederick Bailey Deeming walked calmly to the gallows at Old Melbourne Jail smoking a cigar. 10,000 people gathered outside and cheered as the trapdoor dropped at 10:01 a.m. Frederick Bailey Deeming finally paid for his hideous crimes. Crimes that were so heinous that to this day, if you walk into the Old Melbourne Jail Museum, you can stand face to face with Deeming himself. His death mask is on public display, staring out from the very place he met the hangman in 1892. And with that, we end today's dark journey into the life of Frederick Bailey Deeming, one of Britain's most twisted and forgotten killers. Had you heard of him before today? Please let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and be sure to subscribe for more stories of lesser known British killers. The next video is on screen for you right now. It features 2 cases: the horrifying Denham massacre and the infamous grave robbers turned killers, the London Burkers. Please stay safe.